Hi, Deb. Your question is a very good question, but it's kind of complex, and it's a little hard to describe. So I'm going to do it in a video. Now, all of the answers to all these questions are on my blog. You just have to go through and read a bit and watch a few videos, and it'll all fall into place. Okay, so what you started off, you started asking a number of questions, and one of them involved, you said that Painter 11 brushes and Painter brushes, those two libraries, were not identical. So let's just kind of start there. Now, what you're looking at here is the user interface of Painter 12, 12.2 SP1. So when I go over here to this section, which this is called the brush selector, and I click on this little triangle, what opens up is what's called as the brush library panel. Now, I like to call it the drawer. It was called the drawer before, and for whatever reason it makes it easier for me to do that. But when you open the drawer, if you've done any painting, the most recent brushes will be listed up here, and then this name right there is the brush library that you're currently in, and that is Painter 12's default brush library. Now, if you come over here to this little option button and you click on it, you get another list, and you want to come down to brush library, and you'll see if you've just started your system and you have a clean system, you would have two libraries available to you. So we have Painter brushes and Painter 11 brushes. Now, you said they were different. Yep, they are. But not as different as you might think. Painter 11 brushes had more categories than Painter 12. Painter 11 had more brushes than Painter 12. But what they did to make that happen is they took some of Painter 11 brush categories and combined them. Okay, so when we come over here and we look at a category that says chalk and crayons, if we were in Painter 11 brushes, we would see chalk as one category and crayons as another. Another thing that they did was, like, you might have redundant brushes. Those are brushes that had like a name with 10 or 20 or 30 following it, and that little 10, 20, or 30 said, well, this brush is set at 10, and this brush is set at 20, and this brush is set at 30, meaning the size. So you have the same brush but in three different sizes, and we can make a brush change its size very easily now, and so there was no need to have all of those extra brushes. But if you want to use some of those brushes, or there's a brush you can't find here that you think you can find in the Painter 11 brushes, just click here, and then click on Painter 11 brushes. And when you click on Painter 11 brushes, this is going to change to Painter 11 brushes. Now I can find all the brushes in Painter 11. Okay, so you were having some trouble downloading stuff, and you said something about thick paints won't stick, and I'm not quite sure what all that means, but I have an idea what you're talking about. So let's go to my blog. All right, so here we are on my blog at the moment, and I have up here at the top of the blog, I'll tell you what, let's go back to the page. All right, so here's the blog, and what I want to do is, if I look up here, I can find pages that I've made, and I can find like where the download pages are for the brushes. I can also find that over here on the side. Now, you said specifically you wanted the thick paint brushes, or those didn't work. So if we click on the Skip Thick Paint Brushes download, that brings up this screen, and we come down here and we see some stuff I put in and some writing. But down at the very bottom, you're going to find three specific types of download. This first download is it's the old method to install brushes. So you don't want to do that. If you're in Painter 12.2, you want to avoid that. This is the old download. Down here we have two different downloads. We have Thick Paint as a library, which has a thick paint category inside the library, or we have a thick paint category and it's not in any particular library but can be placed in one. Okay, so what we would do is let's go here and we'll click on that. And once we come to the place where it says Thick Paint Brush Library, and I click on Download, and then I want to save the file, so I say OK, and I'll go and save the file to, let's see, where do I want to save that file? Oh, I know. Let's just save it on the desktop. Okay, so I'm going to save Skip's Thick Paint Brush Library on my desktop. And we'll just say Save. Okay, that's done. Now what I'm going to do is close this download. And I'm going to come to the second one, which says Skip's Thick Paint Category. So we click on that. And here's the download for that. So we click Download. And I'm going to click Save. And this time I'm already in the desktop, so I'll just save directly to the desktop. Okay, so now that has been completed. Alright, so I'm going to hide this at the moment. And I'm going to come back over here. Well, first I'm going to look on the desktop. So let's look on my desktop. And if we look, here's Skip's Thick Paint Brush category. And here's Skip's Thick Paint Brush Library. And I'm going to install both of those to show you what happens. Okay? Alright, so we go back to Painter 12. Now I'm going to go up to Brushes, and I'm going to say Import Brush Library. Okay? Now I want to go to my desktop and look for Skip's Thick Paint Brush Library. Click on it. Click on Open. Now, when you look up here, you're going to see, aha, there's Skip's Thick Paint Library, and it has one category in it, and those are all the brushes in the category. But where, oh where, are my painter brushes? Where, oh where, are my Painter 11 brushes? Well, they're still here, but they're in their own library. So if I click here and I go to Brush Library, now I have Painter Brushes, Painter 11 brushes, and Skip's Thick Paint. So if I want to see Painter Brushes, I just click back on that, and we're back in Painter Brushes. Or if I want to go to my Skip Thick Paint, I click there, and we're back to Skip's Thick Paint. So let's go back to Painter Brushes. Okay, now let's go Brushes. Now, first of all, I'm going to import the brush file that says Category. So you have to be in a library to do this. And you need to know what library you're in so you can find where they go. So I'm going to double check I'm in Painter Brushes. That's great. All right, so I'm going to go Brushes, Import, Category, and I'm back at my desktop again. I come down to the bottom, and there's Skip Thick Paint Brush Category. So I'm going to click on it and say Open. And there we are. We're back to Skip's Thick Paint. But look, there's a difference. Now we have Skip's Thick Paint category in the bottom or in my Painter Brushes library. So that's the thing. If you choose a library, one of the downloads that has the name library in it, not that one, like this one, then it's going to make its own library, and it's not going to be visible when you're in any other library. If you download this one, it will go into the currently active library. So be sure you know what library you're in before you install that one. Okay? Now, let's go back to Painter, and I'm going to close Painter. Don't have to do anything. Don't shift start, any of those kind of things. Now I'm going to open Painter back up. And Painter usually opens back up to the exact brush and place where it was when it closed. So it opened up to Skip's Thick Paint category located in Painter Brushes.